Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Carolyn Howell. I'm the executive producer and host of the Newsmaker series on RTV. I am so excited to be here today and to welcome the first guest for our 2022 celebrity edition of our Newsmaker series. And this wonderful individual is Charu Suri. And we're going to bring her right in, and I'm going to read some things about her. How are you today?
I'm great, Carolyn. So great to be here with you.
And it is fantastic to have you in our presence. Well, I'm going to make sure that our viewers and our listeners really kind of get a little bit of a whisper of what it is you've accomplished and who you actually are. So, first of all, I'm going to read directly from your bio because it's just so wonderful. It indicates that Charu Suri is an award-winning pianist and composer and journalist who became the first Indian born jazz composer at Carnegie Hall. That is high kudos for that. It says that you have been praised with creating a new sound in jazz, blending a trio with Sufi vocals and Indian raga. Raga. I'm saying that right, right?
Yes, Indian.
Okay, very good. It says you are also an award winning journalist who has contributed hundreds of articles to publications that include these impressive journals, such as the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the National Geographic, Condé Nast Traveler, Architectural Digest, and the Washington Post. If that's not enough, your jazz original bluesy won an ISSA award, which is the International Singer Songwriters Association Awards. You got one of that for bluesies. In addition to that, you were awarded a gold record for Jazz Artist of the Month by the very same organization, the ISSA. Is that gold record right there?
Yes, that is the gold record. That.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think I might carry that with me throughout my home, wherever I was. Now, it's interesting. It indicates that your release, the Book of Ragas, Volume 2, which is scored for piano, vibraphone, and Sufi singer, has been garnered and critically acclaimed everywhere and was actually selected as a release pick at the Lincoln Center.
Yes, Jazz at Lincoln Center.
Jazz at Lincoln Center. That was a release pick when it came out. In addition, your work has been performed by celloist Yo-Yo Ma and double bassist Edgar Meyer. In addition to that, you're even a voting member of the Grammys, and you just recently performed at Carnegie Hall, and I understand you're going to be going back again in 2022. So welcome to our show. Welcome, and thank you for being an amazing newsmaker for us.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really is an absolute delight to speak with you. And it's been quite a journey. It's been an amazing journey since I was born in India and to where I am now. And my family back at home, they just can't believe it because we come from humble beginnings.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And when I think jazz, and I'm going to be really honest, when I think jazz, I don't think of an Indian-born jazz performer. So how did that even get started? First of all, when did you realize you were musical, or when did your family realize you were musical?
So my father, my late father, had a job in Africa when I was about 5 years old. He got the opportunity to be the CEO of a record label.
Wow.
I grew up in a musical family, and my grandmother, I grew up in south of India. I was born in a city called Madurai, but most of my life I grew up in a major metropolis called Chennai. It used to be called Madras. You probably have heard of Madras or Madras.
Yes. Okay, now when you say it that way, I've heard of that.
It's actually called Madras, but a lot of people call it Madras. I grew up in that bustling city when I was a child, and my grandmother was an amazing singer. She could have had a career singing in Bollywood and singing in the movies. She was that great and noted. So I always grew up in a musical family, but no one played the piano. That was a very Western instrument. That's not something you do growing up in India, nor are you exposed to people playing Miles Davis and Mozart.
That's what I was thinking.
No,
That's what I was thinking.
It never happens. But this is how my story was a little unusual. is my father always loved music. I would listen to music 24/7 at home, including Indian ragas, which are played according to the time of day. So you have like morning ragas, afternoon ragas, evening
Wow.
ragas. And it's really,
And what is, if I can ask you, what is the raga style for those who are not fully aware?
raga is a scale. Like how you have C major, E major, G major in the Western world.
Okay.
Western world, where I grew up, we call them ragas, but they're modal scales. So
Okay.
rather than tonal scales, which are Western. So I'll just give you an example.
Please do.
Is an example of a Western scale.
Okay.
A raga scale would be like, so there are certain notes that
Wow.
you use in the ascending, and I just made that up.
Okay, first of all, that's beautiful. And is it more about a mood or what I mean, what that's so interesting. Because it actually colors the music when you played it there. It didn't seem so harsh. It actually sounded like a song instead of just a scale.
Yes. So the ragas, like for example, Kalyani raga, will have certain notes that you can use in the ascending, like ni re sa ni sa ni re sa ni the ni re sa re ga ma da pa. So you have.
And you sing. And you sing.
Oh no, I actually sing. That's why I have singers in my family. I sort of just sing for educational purposes, but these scales have a certain arrangement for the ascending and
Okay.
descending, which is very unusual in terms of what a scale can do. Most of the Western scales have the same notes going up and coming down. So the raga is a little different, and the arrangements of the notes are different. Every raga is different. So you would have a raga that is what I just sang was a little bit of Kalyani, and you would have like ragas in the minor key, and those would be completely different as well. So you have hundreds and hundreds of ragas, all for different moods and times of the day.
So you grew up listening to all of this, and this to me is a very far stretch from actually the jazz that we are going to be hearing you play today and the jazz
Yes,
that you typically perform. So
right,
that I'm still trying to get to that point of how in the world
right.
did you wind up with go ahead.
Yeah, I know that's quite a story. So my father got a job in Africa as the CEO of a record label and he took us all when I was 5 years old, and he would bring back vinyl, and back in the great old days where music was supposed to be heard on vinyl. I mean, had all these hundreds of albums that I would get when I was like a little baby, 4 or 5 years old. I would be looking at everything from ABBA to Michael Jackson to Miles Davis, everything. Like, and we would hear it in the house that we lived in for hours on this beautiful turntable, because his job was to look at the records and listen to them and decide which ones he was going to promote. In the
And you would be absorbing all of that.
everything in the background, and in the bungalow that we lived in, because they gave him a beautiful apartment, there was a piano. And that was completely serendipitous because nobody knew how to play the piano. I mean, that doesn't just happen in a little middle, income family in South India. But I had it because my dad had this job. And my mom basically said, like, I've never seen anything like it. You just sat down and started playing and you just never stopped.
And you literally did?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I can't explain it. It was like a freak thing that they just said, I can't understand, this girl just doesn't want to leave the piano. And I would practice not just a few hours, we're talking 7, 8 hours a day. After I came back from school, I would just be practicing the piano. And my parents just couldn't explain it. And so they said I should have lessons. And they gave me
Well,
lessons.
I'm going to tell you, this is blowing my mind already. We're going to take a break, and during some of our breaks, we're going to listen to some of your wonderful music. But when we come back, you're going to expound more on that. And during the course of today's program, you're actually going to play for us. So everybody, stay tuned.
Hi everyone, my name is Charu Suri and I'm very excited to be making my appearance with our TV network on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Carolyn Howell as the presenter. So please join me in tuning in then.
And we're back. Oh my goodness. Just right out of the gate, you have us all so inspired with your music. So today I'm Carolyn Howe. I am the executive producer for the Newsmaker series here on our TV, and I have the pleasure of being in the presence, we all do, of Charu Suri, who is this amazing Indian-born pianist, jazz performer, but also a journalist and so many other things. So getting back to, you were talking to us about the fact that you were born in India. You sort of grew up or lived for a while in Madras. Your father got this job as a record producer, and suddenly you went from listening to mainly Indian ragas and Indian style music to actually all the jazz greats and even pop artists and more. So that broadened your horizons.
And classical, yes. I
And
started
classical.
doing classical. I was started out as a concert pianist, so I started learning everything from Mozart to Bach, and soon was performing because I was practicing so much and listening so much, and then I started playing, in concert halls, and we're talking, some of the really hardest pieces in the piano repertoire: Schubert, Chopin, Mozart. And it was sort of this inexplicable thing that my parents just didn't understand what was going on. But she was like, okay, let's just feed this craziness. And
Well, this was starting at age 5. This was starting
yes,
about age 5 when you discovered the piano that was
yeah,
in the lodging that where you
yeah,
were living,
yeah,
and you just got there and suddenly were fabulous, and family said, "Get her lessons."
exactly. That's
Okay, and keep
that's
going.
really literally what happened. And
Wow.
when we came back to India after a few years, my parents found the best piano teacher in Madras. And there were some really fantastic piano teachers there. And I started lessons with a wonderful lady called Geeta Menon, who was known for her no nonsense approach. I don't
Wow.
know if you've ever seen the film Madame Suzatska with
No, I haven't, but I will now.
you should. It's a great film. It's with Shirley MacLaine. It's about a
Oh,
piano. She's absolutely fabulous in that film, and she really reminds me of my teacher. She was no nonsense. You couldn't go to her classes unprepared, and she has been known to send. She was known to send students back home if they came without practicing. That was how disciplined and how dedicated she was. That jived well with my mentality and furthered that attention to detail and that dedication. And soon I was performing in national concert halls, winning international competitions. I won, I think, 7 years in a row. I won the trophy for in a London-based competition, like 7 years in a row, and everyone was like, "This is crazy."
yeah, this is crazy. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. We just heard a portion of a beautiful performance just before we came back from break with you, and you have amazing colleagues. Can you tell us what you were playing and who we just saw?
Absolutely. So that Raga number 1 is based on an afternoon raga, loosely based on an afternoon raga called Bimpalasi. And so, as I mentioned, ragas are supposed to be played at a certain time of day. That was from my very first raga jazz experimental album. And I say experimental because it started out with my wondering how I can bring my heritage into the world of jazz.
Wow.
I grew up listening, like everybody did, to Ella, to Billie Holiday, to Louis Armstrong, to Oscar Peterson, to Miles Davis. Those are not the sounds I wanted to bring into the world, because I heard something a little different in my head based on my, history and my trajectory and my heritage. But I didn't want it to sound like an Indian band with a tabla and a sitar, and everyone was like, "Why don't you use the tabla?" Like, no, you don't understand. I don't want the tabla. Because how will the West understand the beauty of the rhythms and the scales of the East? Because the issue is when you start to make it so Eastern, then what's happening to the jazz trio that I hear in clubs? We want to be able to play those. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's the way I was thinking. Like when you're going to the Village Vanguard, when you're going to all these jazz clubs, they're listening to a trio, a classical trio with a piano, double bass, and drums, and maybe a vocalist. I wanted to bring the sounds of these into that framework. So that's how I started creating these raga pieces. So what you heard was the first raga I ever wrote, and that was recorded with my wonderful band. Some of the band members have changed, but most of them have remained the same. The Sufi singer is right now. I work with a wonderful gentleman called Falsa. He was born in Pakistan.
Wow.
From a city called Multan, which is where Sufi singing like originated and really flourished in Pakistan. And then the double bass player that you heard on the recording was Jay Brunka. And the drummer, Jesse Gerbasi, who has performed with me recently in Carnegie Hall. He's been with me from the very, very beginning. He's also on the second Raga album. I found these band members in New Jersey when I started jamming with them, and they were so intrigued by this new sound because I think, these are all very professional gigging musicians, and they've heard the same old for so long.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. But
No, not at all. It's just not the sound I wanted to bring, and they were intrigued by this new sound. And so we jammed and experimented, and that was how that piece was born. And that is the very first track of my very first Raga jazz album.
Well, I'm telling you, it's absolutely wonderful. And you're going to kind of play some different things for us now. I noticed that when we were talking at the very beginning, you have a tune bluesy. At some point, are you going to play that for us today? Are we going to hear what bluesy is? And when you're naming these and you're putting these together, because this is not a strain. This blend is so beautiful. I'm listening. I'm thinking it feels familiar and unusual at the same time. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's beautiful.
I've heard that, which is great. Thank you. That's
loving it.
Nice of you.
So now you've gone, so let's just face it, classical pianist, and you were playing in large concert halls. You could have continued along that vein, but it seems like you had that tug, more about that influence. You had that tug to go towards jazz than anything else. Is that the case?
For my own compositions, yes.
For your own compositions.
Because at the end of the day, I wanted to contribute something, and I didn't want to be, I wasn't a prodigy in the sense, like I was a prodigy, but I wasn't performing when I was 5 or 6 years old, like some of the greatest pianists in the world. And I felt like that wasn't my career and that wasn't my trajectory. My teacher always said I was more of a gifted composer than anything else. And I've been composing since I was 5, but I wanted to bring
Wait a minute, hold on. You can't just drop that. I've been composing since I was 5. 5 is when you discovered the piano and started to play.
And creating all my tunes and writing since I was learning music, since I started.
Okay, you can't just blow past this prodigy piece because we are going to listen to you play. So I've got a 5-year-old who stumbled across a piano and started to hit the keys and wasn't just playing chopsticks, but started to play beautiful things influenced by the ragas that she heard, but then influenced by the music that your father was introducing to your entire family. You are now starting to add to this and actually create music, compose, and write it.
Since I was a kid, and I didn't know what. No, but you have to understand, I didn't know that this was cool. I thought this was normal. I had no idea. I grew up in India, and I went to Africa, and I was just doing this by myself, and I honestly had no idea. This was just what I did. And it was not until later on in life, my friends are like, you should record that. And I'm like, oh my God, a recording studio, what a great idea. It honestly came as a surprise to me that I could actually do this commercially, because My parents didn't know. No one told me until much
But
later.
your father was in the record business, but he didn't see that for you, not in that
Yeah,
way?
yes, he didn't, because in Africa, I didn't know any recording studios. His job was to evaluate records to bring them to the mainstream market.
Okay.
And that was his function. And back home in India, we did it more as, we would sing in concerts, etc., but we wouldn't go and record albums in a studio. That's two different thought processes. Really, honestly, I didn't put two and two together. It sounds ridiculous.
No, it doesn't sound ridiculous. When we come back, we're going to take another break and hopefully listen to some more of your music as well. When we come back, we're going to continue this wonderful conversation and more of your genius. I can hardly wait.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kinds of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all that we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
We're back again on the Newsmakers series with Charu Suri. I am so excited to have you here on the Celebrity Edition, and you are truly a celebrity. So I just want to get back to pick up our conversation where we left off and then listen to you play some. Now, you were saying after leaving Africa, going back to India and Madras with friends, they were all loving it. And their thought was, we're enjoying this, but more people should. You should record it. And then what happened?
Uh, to be honest, the recording didn't start. I know you're going to fall off your chair until I came to the United States, and not until just literally 3 years ago when I started my band.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, the recording it was very late in my life because I honestly didn't know. I didn't know anything. No one showed me the whole ropes of how it could be done. I just thought everyone had to be picked up by a record label and you had to be discovered really young. I didn't know that you could go to a studio and record your music. And I just started my band 3 years ago.
You have got to be kidding. So what we heard, that beautiful sound that we just heard, is just this is a fairly recent occurrence?
Yeah. It just literally started it. And in 3 years, we've played at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, won awards, been nominated to be part of the Grammys, and more concert appearances. It's been kind of surreal. But, I have been doing this all my life. And actually, a lot of my friends are like, I had no idea you were a musician. And I'm like, that's what I've been doing all my life.
Wait a minute. So you're one of these multi-decade overnight successes. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's just what I have loved doing, to be honest. I never even thought of, I hate the word commercializing it. It never even occurred to me that I could put out a record for other people to buy. I loved it so much, and that was what I was doing all this time. And my friends are like, you should just do it so we can listen to it too. And that's how it's really, really very recent band.
Well, I love it. I love it. And I feel like with that beautiful grand piano behind you, you should just do it so we can listen to it. That's
Absolutely.
how I feel.
I'm going to start out with a songbook original that won the band single of the year from the International Singer-Songwriters Association. This is Bluesy. This is my most downloaded songbook track, and it's sung so beautifully by Danielle Erin Rhodes, who's been with me from the very beginning. She's my singer. Absolutely, it's got this gorgeous songbook voice. She's been trained in both Broadway and classical, and she's now wonderful in jazz. So this is Bluesy.
All right, I'm excited. Let's hear it. That is amazing. And that's bluesy?
That's bluesy. That's sung
Oh
by.
my,
Thank you. And it's a love song. It's bluesy because love is gone, and all the lyrics reflect that. Sung by and when it came out, we debuted it at Carnegie Hall with Danielle Aaron Rhodes singing the vocals, Jay O'Brien on the drums, and we had a double bass player, Jay Brunka, the first time we debuted it. The same people that are on the record at Carnegie
oh
Hall.
my.
It was in 2019, just a few years ago. It's hard
That's
to
what I'm saying. So you debuted this there, and it's, I mean, this is one of your most downloaded songs you've said.
Yes.
So I guess I'm still trying to, you said I was going to fall off my seat, and thankfully I didn't, because from playing and being a prodigy as a child, loving this music and playing it your entire life, you only got your band together 3 years ago.
That's
How were you paying the bills? What were you doing for work?
I was a classical pianist, and that's how I was known as a classical pianist. So I was playing, I'll show you what I was playing. I was playing stuff
Okay,
like
please.
when I was a child. That was a Bach prelude. That was the stuff I was playing when I was a child.
And that's
That was
beautiful.
all classical. Thank you. A lot of
But-
my pieces are influenced by classical repertoire. Yeah.
So
So
can
that
I
was the
say
stuff
that That's not childish music. That's not childlike music. So obviously, I mean that's two different languages to me. That's absolutely beautiful. But this moving jazz that you play is just incredible. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to be one of your new fans who will be going and downloading Bluesy and any of your other albums I can. How can we find your music? How can we find your music right
I'm
now?
on every single platform out there. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Amazon, I'm on iTunes, Apple Music, Deezer, Napster, you name it. I have a distribution company that has put me out literally everywhere, and I'm on CDs as well. And if you go to my discography on Spotify, you'll see all my songbook, and you can just type in Charu Suri Bluesy, the YouTube video will pop up and you will see it, and you'll hear everything with the lyrics. But so jazz is very new to me. It's just literally 3 years old.
Say that again for myself and for our listeners and viewers. Jazz is what?
New to me.
New to you.
In terms of the composing and writing, I've listened to it all my life, but I grew up trained as a classical pianist, like what I showed you. That was the kind of repertoire I was playing. So everyone asked me, why did it take you so long to release records? First of all, I wanted to find my voice. I didn't want to release something in the classical vein because I wanted to be a little bit, different. And it took me that long to find my voice and to be comfortable with recording, and I decided to release my albums in the jazz genre. So a lot of
I'm so happy you did that, and that deserves serious applause. When we come back for our final segment, we're going to find out so much more about you, listening to some more music. Thank you so far, and everybody stay tuned. This is Charu Suri, and we're going to be coming back and listening to her on our Newsmaker series, Celebrity Edition. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We are Carolyn Howe here on the Newsmaker series, Celebrity Edition, with Charu Suri, who is an amazingly accomplished, I will say pianist, but I'm going to say jazz performer. It is mind-blowing. Your music is so moving. I am so glad you decided to take the leap and record for the benefit of all of us.
Oh,
And that song, the sound, him singing, is that a Sufi? Am I saying that right?
yes, he's my Sufi singer, Balsa. Absolutely brilliant. That raga, which is a modal scale, it's a morning raga, Asavari, was composed during the pandemic in 2020. That is from my latest album. That's why it's so haunting and so moving.
I'm so glad you said it that way. Yes, it has that a haunting quality about it that it just.
So
I'm going to be
devastated.
hearing it.
You are great. It's one of my most downloaded tracks. Every time I had several other Grammy voting members. I submitted it for this year's Grammy, but unfortunately it wasn't nominated. So hopefully one day. But I can't even tell you the feedback I received from the Grammy voting members. When I submitted this, I would get emails from people saying, I honestly in my life have never heard anything like it. It's so beautiful. It's so moving. So it was so reassuring to me that this thing that I had in my head that I decided to record, because, you know, there's thousands and thousands of records being recorded and put out every day, is resonating with people. And this particular, the Sufi tradition means singing poems, devotional poems, usually in Arabic or different languages, over something. So the lyrics for this, which is in Urdu, basically is a hymn of love and loss, which I thought was very appropriate for what was going on in the pandemic. And so he's basically mourning, you know, the loss of love. And, you know, to be honest, that's what the pandemic was to me and still is for everybody. You know, we're just mourning the loss of our loved ones.
Absolutely.
And so that really hit me really hard. And so during lockdown, I put out on social media one jazz piece a day during 90 days, literally. 90
One
days.
jazz piece a day.
Yeah, I recorded because I really felt like everyone was sort of trapped in their houses, right? And I wanted to just inspire people and give them cheer. And I had people just tune in into my channel saying, I'm looking forward to what you're putting out tomorrow because I can't stand what's going on in the news. So I just put out standards and originals, recorded them on my piano. You can see them on my social, one jazz piece a day, like every day, come rain, come shine.
For how long?
For like 90 days. That was the period of
Wait,
my lockdown.
that's what I thought you said, and I wanted you to repeat that. So for 90 days, for 3 months, you are putting out standards and then some original pieces.
Yeah. Just recording them. I mean, that's what jazz musicians and, you know, musicians do.
Is that really the case? I'm telling you, I'm feeling something super exceptional here. And you were gaining an audience. So this beautiful talent that you have chosen to share in such a way, but I'm telling you, this is really catching me off guard because I did not really know who you were until this most recent introduction. So I am so happy to be able to tap into something new. So tell me, when people, you know, obviously things are opening up. I know we have a little bit of a shutdown right now, but things are opening up. Are you performing in 2022 in other places besides Carnegie Hall?
Yes. So I have an amazing gig at the Cutting Room, which is one of my most favorite venues in New York City. Our debut there. It's this gorgeous space in Midtown, New York, on February 19th, and tickets are online. And I am performing both the songbook and raga jazz pieces there. But I also have I started to do more collaborations with artists. So I have a guest flying in from Texas who wanted me to play piano on his track.
Yes.
So this is my fourth collaboration with other musicians who've started to listen to me and hear me play. So he's flying all the way. His name is Kelly Kintner, and he's an amazing songwriter and a guitar player himself. He's flying all the way from Texas to be with us on February 19th. And I'm also playing on February 5th at World Cafe with a fantastic singer called Sapphire. Her name is Adrienne. And so I'll be playing with her. And I also got, funnily enough, I got asked to play piano for a Johnny Cash tribute band, which is
Wow, wait a minute. So do you see how this
I
is?
know. It's crazy, right? So crazy. So that's the thing, like when I started putting out records, and so yeah, he's a very talented performer, JC Cole, and I gigged with him before, and I'm going to be performing with him.
Oh, I'm
later
loving
on.
this.
It's
So
really
just to recap, you're going to the Cutting Room on February 19th in New York City, but
Yeah.
on February 5th, you're going to be at a different location, which is where?
in Philadelphia. It's
In
called
Philly.
World Cafe.
World Cafe in Philadelphia. And where do you have a website that people can go to and buy these tickets, or are they just online through
They
those
are
venues?
online, and I need to update my website. I apologize. I just performed in St. Croix for New Year's Eve.
Okay, so you were vacationing and performing in St. Croix.
Yes, I know. Don't hate me, everyone. I
No,
say
I
this
know,
to.
and I'm trying not to. I'm really trying not to. So because
Croix,
this show airs there.
This is my second time there, and I found myself there last year during the pandemic, during the winter. I just needed to get away after the craziness, so I took my daughter to homeschool her and virtual school her from St. Croix for 3 months, and I ended up performing there. And the Caribbean Museum of Arts asked me to come and be their headliner for New Year's Eve, which was amazing. I was solo piano for the entire New Year's Eve, and it was amazing. I really, honestly, can't even tell you. I know the world was falling apart around us. The governor had declared state of emergency. The Omicron cases were rising, but I just said, I mean, I'm going to blow a fuse if I enter 2022 without anything other than music. So a lot of people, the show, felt the same way, and they all had to be vaccinated, all had to wear masks, and I got tested and all of that. We took all the precautions, but
that is so wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
So you were there, and I have to tell you, I am so pleased and proud. You can share with us some of your other plans for 2022 in these last few minutes as we're wrapping up. But I'm so pleased to be able to welcome you to the Our TV family, because you're going to be doing amazing things here on our network. So obviously we've showcased you on the Newsmaker series, Celebrity Edition, but you're going to be doing phenomenal things here with us. What have you got in your other plans for 2022 as it relates to our TV and some of your other things?
I want to bring in some amazing musicians I've heard along the way in my career, especially as a voting member of the Grammys. I'm listening to the best of the best. Submissions, talent, I cannot even tell you, in all genres, from children's music to pop to new age. I have listened and really admired some of the most talented musicians on the planet. I can't even tell you how blown away I am by the artists I've met and corresponded with. So I want to bring a lot of them onto the network to showcase their talents so that, they deserve a broader, wider audience. So
I love that. You're going to share the wealth of what what we're discovering in you. So I'm excited about that. Also, you mentioned you have a daughter. Is she musical? Is the rest of your family musical?
Super, super musical. She's a flute player. She just joined the band, and she was chosen.
She just joined your band?
Not my band. One day,
the band at school.
She said I can't afford her. She's 9 years old.
Oh my goodness, she's following her mom's footsteps. So you have and I guess, so she is a flute player. So she's a flutist or a flautist, if you will.
Yeah.
And so at some point, are we going to see a mother-daughter collaboration?
I hope so. I really hope so. She just started learning how to play the flute. She was a soloist in her winter concert in her school. She played the duet, but she had a solo, and it was amazing. I'm saying this as a complete, you know, bipartisan judge. It was really amazing. I was like, wow, she's a flute player. She's amazing. And she also learns the piano, but not by pressure, out of her own choice. She
No, no,
wanted
no.
to.
I can understand that. You don't seem like the type that would pressure somebody for something that you're so passionate about. So I am just so happy to have had you here today on our TV network, the Newsmaker series, Celebrity Edition. And I don't want to. I would really feel horrible if I did not have you play us out of here for this last 40 seconds. Can you play us right on out? Because I want the last thing that I hear to be your sound until I can download it myself. Thank you,
Absolutely.
everybody, for joining in. But you start playing, Charu, and tell us what this is going to be.
This is a raga. This is another raga piece I wrote. It's a very soothing one, an evening raga called Raga Hemant.
All right.
And here you go.